Okay. All right. So Shawn and I are here. I think there were a few other folks who were originally planning to join us, but aren't here. So we will just, do our thing. Um, and yeah, I think right now my invitation is, do any of y'all who are here right now feel like bringing us here so that we ground? Because that's not me right now.
I can lead something. I can't say I'm grounded, but I can lead
Well,
something to
well, you
ground
know
us,
what? That
maybe.
makes it even better because how
Okay.
often are we maybe ungrounded and they're supposed to be so? So let me hand off to someone else. So I don't have to be the one who I don't know. You know what I mean?
Can
Just
you hear me okay? I have my heater on. Okay.
I don't hear your heater at all.
That's good because I'm like it's like
Yeah.
I don't like to wear a lot of layers, but I like to be warm. Okay, so let's take a moment to feel the ground beneath you, whether that's your feet or your legs or your butt, whatever is touching the ground. And see if you can notice those points of contact. And just allow yourself to feel heavier. And simply noticing the breath as it is. With each exhale, thinking or imagining sinking deeper down into the ground. And with the focus and the attention on the floor and your connection to the floor, maybe continuing to deepen that awareness as if you're going below the floor, down deeper into Mother Earth. And we can take a collective breath all the way in. And then maybe sigh it out. A couple more times, deep breath. And just whatever comes through. One more time, full breath in. And sigh, let it go. And then maybe your hands find your body. And with your hands on your body, see if you can bring a little bit of weight to your hands. So you're assisting your body in rooting down. Also sending this message to your physical body that you're here. You're here with your body. You're here with yourself. Mm. With the hands maybe still on the body, maybe on the thighs, or wherever you feel like your body might need a bit of extra attention to feel anchored. Taking a few more breaths, and instead of sighing, we'll hum internally. So when you're ready, nice breath in, and then create the humming inside. 2 more times. Deep breath in. And then hum internally. Hmm. And last time, or at your own count. Hmm. Finding a way to seal this moment. Maybe giving yourself a nice big hug, or placing your hands in a prayer, or just finding some stillness and bringing gratitude. Then fluttering the eyes open when you're ready, and taking a peek around your room. So taking a peek all the way behind you, and just gazing around, orienting before coming back into the space. I like how everyone's on the floor. If you want to get to the floor.
Thank you for that, Devon. That was lovely.
Was like, oh gosh, I need this.
Mhm. Hmm. I wish my floor was clean enough to get on.
Actually, now that you say that, I don't think my floor is very clean. But whatever. I just have been like, I should probably even turn this. I've been like staring at the same wall in the same direction, working all day. And I'm like, I need to change it up.
Switch it up.
Yeah.
New you.
And it's kind of ridiculous because I'm like so close to Heather's place, but like, I don't know. I'm like I feel too like chaotic right now.
I mean, isn't
Do
it
anything.
magic that we have this option where you don't have to be like, I guess I miss out because
Yeah.
I feel like it's great for me to leave the house for whatever reason. Like, this is magic, you know?
I know.
I sure as hell wouldn't have shown up if it wasn't easy. I'm definitely in one of those days.
I think just with like how my day went and how my day is tomorrow, I just wasn't sure if I could commit to fully like staying for the whole time. And so this just seemed like an easier option just if that happened.
Well, and what I also want to say, number one, I think we should all always feel perfectly comfortable to leave whenever. Like we're all like totally within our power and autonomous, and we're not in one of those situations where it's like sit through the discomfort. Like that's not what we're doing here. So anytime you ever feel like whatever reason, you don't even have to say you're leaving, just take off. But also I mean, especially when we have a smaller group, I kind of love being able to say, hey, how do y'all feel? You feel like, hey, I want to be here about half an hour and that's about it, or let's check in at 45 minutes, like whatever, because my guess is when one or two of us is like, maybe we should do a short one, we're probably not the only ones. You know what I mean? So how about we just start with that? Like, does anyone feel like I know I want to leave about X time, or just want to keep flowing and figure it out?
I'm down with flowing, and if that means shorter time, great. But if we get into something juicy, I'm totally cool hanging for the whole thing.
Cool. Well, I haven't quite figured out how to set up my room so that this works really well. And so I guess I just keep playing with it. Yeah, how about I'll mute myself, and how about one of the Zoomies start, and then once I've got sorted on this end, then Shawn and I can take our turns. Sound good? Just like drop in with whatever it is you want us to know about you in this moment, and go from there. Sound good? Okay. All right. Oops. All right.
Do you have a preference, Devon?
I don't. Do you?
Rock, paper, scissors.
I can go first.
Okie doke.
I'm definitely feeling a bit scattered. And yeah, I'm grateful for this space and just kind of showing up and feeling welcomed, and it not feeling super rigid. I don't think I was feeling really like so much of my day, my work day is just so rigid and structured. And I feel like always a little kind of like scrunched and like quick. So feels nice to have a little bit of space for just maybe being a little bit more like messy and fluid, and bringing like these parts of myself forward that aren't really like there for a lot of my day. So just noticing some anxiety, noticing some like underlying sadness, because like there's still certain patterns at play within myself that I wish would change, but also feeling a lot of gratitude.
Thank you. Thank you, Devon, for sharing. I will go next. Being a Zoomie, I spent the entire day looking for cheaper car insurance. The whole day repeating the same thing over the phone. Oh my God. And it's so grim. Like the reason I'm not there in person is I can't afford the gas. I can't afford the miles. Um, it's a real bummer. I've even contemplated just parking my car and busing it. So yeah, that's a little upsetting. So it's nice to have something good today. Thank you for being something good on a hard day. Yeah. Yeah. I resonate with it. Just seems like there's so much going on, like anxiety and sadness and grief, and feels like a roller coaster these days. It really does. And overwhelm, like everything is traveling at a million miles per hour. And how can you possibly kind of get your arms around it all? And yes, so it helps to see heads nodding, that I'm not like the only insane person on the planet. right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. All righty, that's it for us Zoomies.
Now for us Zoomies.
Yeah, I said on the other side. Do you want to go first?
Sure, I can go first. I just want to say thank you for having this. Good to see everyone. It's everything everyone said. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of there's a lot of energy out there that doesn't seem positive. But I have so much to do, and I'm a little panicked about some of it. But I come to a group like this, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. There's other people. Like it gives me hope to see all of you, and like, okay, I'm recalibrating and figuring out how to minimize, like contractions, and really, I think lately I've been really good at when someone triggers me of like not blaming them and being more open. My heart just being like, I need to connect with you. And my sister was in town last week and she came because she's depressed. And which I'm glad she reached out, and we had some good conversations about some generational trauma our family has, and she really was like, my fiance is just like so worried about you and you're doing all this stuff, and it's like, well, there's more hurt when you start unpacking things. So that's where I've been, and I'm sharing it with the family, and the fiance is she's just so upset, like well, if she's getting better, then everything's happy. And it's like, well, no, it's feeling all your feelings, and you can be happy and sad at the same time. But I figured this out. This is so great, but man, this sucks. Like to sort through the feelings. And with that, I've noticed some grace too. I've had at work, because as people make mistakes in a very structured world, they get really upset. And I've been like, you know what? It's okay. We all make mistakes. Like, we should just talk about this more at work. And it felt really good just to say it like that in a meeting, because people have missed deadlines and missed different things. And I'm like, well, who cares really? Like, we'll get it done. It's not that we're not professionals. We should communicate, and we should be able to say, I'll just use a name. Anthony, if you forgot to do it, you forgot to do it. You're human. Like, we'd all rather get an email saying, I forgot to do this. And then we can figure out what to do and not be mad. Forgiveness, the next piece. Forgiveness. Forgive other people. Anyway, I'm going on and on.
You're saying things that I'm sure we're all resonating with. So, but anyway, whatever you want to say to.
I'm having struggles. I fell from the pole on the 15th, and we don't know if I broke ribs or if they're just really bruised. And I did do my pole show. I had to change my whole routine and do things on different sides, which to Devon will make sense, because sometimes you go into a move on the right side and you can't do it on the left. And I was doing everything. I made it through.
I bet that is challenging.
It was
you
challenging.
were doing all kinds of stuff, like brain stuff and rethinking stuff. Wow.
So I was really like impressed, because I
Yeah.
took 2 days off before the show and didn't do anything. I still haven't seen the doctor because of our stupid healthcare system. It was like, either go to urgent care and pay like $3,000 or wait for my appointment on May 23rd. And then the nurse line is like, I'm like, okay, nurse line, like what can you do for me? They're like, well, if it's broken, it's gonna be the same as bruised. It's like, okay, great. Okay. We all know the system's broken.
Right. Yeah.
So I went to Brighton Bush.
Yeah.
Good.
Better spending my money there than $3,000 at the.
And unfortunately, ribs kind of are like toes. There's just like kind of limited amounts that they can do, unless it's like poking your lungs or something.
Right, and that was the fear the first couple days.
Yeah.
The week they didn't know, but
Yeah.
I think they're just broken.
Yeah, it is broken. Every time I get bronchitis for the rest of my life, it's gonna. I'm just teasing.
I know.
My mom had broken ribs, and she kept getting bronchitis, kept re-breaking. So I'm sorry, That was
No,
me
no.
projecting my mother stuff on you.
And I just want to end with my funny story is that I have a lot of corsets. So I sent my sister up to the attic because I wanted to wear the corset with the heating pad underneath and have it really tight.
Oh.
So I've been walking around my house with this corset and a heating pad with a little tail everywhere. Anyway, it's hilarious. But the first corset she brought down had feathers up here. And I'm like, Anne, there's a plain black one up there, a plain white one, and it has no feathers on it. Can you grab? She's like, oh, and so she brought the plain one, and then she brought this other pink one. I'm like, okay, again.
I'm just wearing it with a hot pad.
Doing a show. Like, what? I just thought it was funny.
I love the resourcefulness there. I love the prioritization. I love how you have to explain, no, I don't want the corset with the feathers when I'm going to wear it like for self-care. It's just to hold the hot pad on.
Yeah, I'm gonna lay
Not
in
to go
bed with it
dancing.
at night,
Hilarious.
and I don't want to squish it.
So, I
It's-
hope if at some point you feel like, I love pictures of self-care when it's like kind of has to be really fucking creative, and that's super creative. You're using what's available to you to take care of
Yeah.
yourself. So like, and I think that's amazing.
Healthcare, it's magical.
Right, you're right. Please keep correcting us.
Oh no,
It is elf-care.
it's so magical. Thank you. I can take a photo, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's how I'm feeling. I'm happy to be here. I
Yeah.
have a very bad period, so again, I think Cheri, exactly what you said. There's a conversation we're in. I'd love to stay, but if there isn't, my
Yeah.
whole body wants to go.
Right, right. Which is also an option. But okay. So my check-in. And you guys can hear me okay, right? I'm not too far away. Okay. I haven't really tested the, sound here. So I'm straddling that place between like so many of the dreams and the imaginations and things and the projects and the ideas and all the things that have been happening for years are actually coming into the physical. Like the way I live my day, for example, was a dream, 6 years ago that I couldn't even conceive of. And so like holding that, oh, I need to go outside right now. And look, the sun came out. Time to go outside now. I need to lie down for a while. I'm gonna do that. Like that wasn't available in 2016 before I went on the final medical leave. And so when I am moving through a day like this, where I'm like, okay, I didn't go to sleep till 3 a.m. I'm gonna turn my alarm off. I'm not gonna go driving for a Lyft. I don't have to ask anybody. I'm just fucking doing it. That wasn't available. And then the rest of the day were like, okay, I have things to do. All right, how do I identify my priorities? What is it now? Okay, like what is it that I need the most in this moment among all the things that I think are as important as each other? Like it's a moment to moment thing. And then when I come up against something that's so fucking simple, like making a shared folder in my iPhotos, like I know how to do that. Why can't I do it right now? Like these very simple things happen that'll just like push me over the edge. But the thing that I can do when I'm walking that line and I feel myself tipping over into where I was half an hour ago when Brian asked me, like, would you like me to make you some broccoli? Would you eat some if I made some? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. I just need to go upstairs and change my clothes. And I don't know if I can handle broccoli right now. And so he kindly brought me some once it was done. He didn't make me like choose whether or not I wanted broccoli. And sometimes it just comes down to like the decision fatigue is so severe and the burnout is so severe that it's like, oh, the basics I can't remember how to do, and I can't make, I'm struggling with these very simple choices that on other days wouldn't be a struggle. But then everything about it, everything about my experience, everything about the experience of it, like I assisted Ayana's workshop on Sunday called The Body of the Goddess. And like everything about that experience is like a dream come true, in that I'm being of service in the way I want to be of service to somebody who's dear to me and who I've known for enough years now that I know what her potential is. I know what she has under her belt. I know what she's capable of. And I see the world like tearing her to fucking shreds. It's practically impossible to be a magical being and thrive in these environments. And so, you know, for me to, in that space, I'm walking this line between, here are these women who are doing this incredible work, and they're all kind of those, you know, those like real babies. This is like one of their first workshops ever, and they're like, I just want to claim my body, you know, like it's so fucking powerful. And me being of service to her is her being able to be service to them. And yet, because we haven't quite all figured out how can we better support each other and be with each other, she's over there exhausted, I'm over here exhausted, because we know this work is crucial. And it's still like, it's still hard to figure out how to make it all work. And then for me, myself, when I step back and go, I literally have 30 years experience of professional experience and training, like an extremely high level of training and how to do all these things. Everything that we're all struggling with has been my entire career. And so if I'm struggling with it, like it breaks my heart when people who don't have that background are struggling and beating themselves up and feeling like it's their fault or their problem that these dumbass things need to be done that are a complete waste of their genius. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff I think about all day and write 20 pages about today, and you know, feel that tremendous, like what I have to offer is important, and what I can do with and for other people will help them rise. But if I can't keep my, you know, I can't keep my feet under me enough in order to do that, then we all pay, we all lose. And so I guess on the one hand, I want to give hope that I literally like am putting every bit of my genius and my training and my background towards solving these problems in a way that at least I can go, okay, you guys, here's my idea, help me make it better, so that we as a collective, once we've figured out what works for us, can be like, all right, everybody else who needs something like this, here you go. Like we figured out what works for us. Because we're all, our hearts are all aching. Our bodies are all like fucking struggling and suffering because we don't know, enough of us don't know how to team up and do these things together. And I know I'm one of the ones who does know how. It's just this the tension that we all feel, you know, of I know what I have to give is important and I can't seem to navigate through the molasses lake to do it. So I guess part of why I need to say that out loud is because I don't want to be one of those artists or one of those geniuses that just kind of toils in obscurity or is like living the like starving artist archetype, because those are both like done. They're so out of date and unnecessary. I don't want to be one of those geniuses who toils in obscurity until they die and somebody finds their stuff and like, look at this incredible book that they didn't quite finish, you know, or these incredible resources that they did pretty well with, but couldn't quite finish before they died, you know, like we gotta be the change, you know, we gotta be the ones who in any whatever little way we can make sure that we are not leaving our knowledge in the grave, and make sure that we're how can we each be of service in a way that fills us and supports those around us so that we all, you know, together we rise. So yeah.
Thank you.
Like to take a moment to just like feel like together right now, because yeah.
I have a little astrology thing I'd like to share, if that's okay. And it's specifically for it's a world pattern, which means it's a collective. And it is April 30th to May 2nd. Okay. And I will try to remember to, I took screenshots, so I'll try to remember to at least put the screenshots in the leader group, but I think if I read it right now, it might, I don't know, organize us. Today and over the next few weeks, there's an emphasis on exploring new terrain and tapping into the courage to leave your comfort zone. Intention: Mars, the planet of action and initiation, has entered the bold, powerful sign of Aries. This energy is encouraging you and others around you to conquer your goals with speed and triumph over your fears. This is a great time to think about the last time you did something that stretched and challenged you. When you test your capabilities, you may realize that you can accomplish more than you initially thought. The only way to break new ground is to do things differently, even if it feels scary. Key takeaways: if you're feeling stuck in life or are simply bored of your usual environment, let this energy push you to embrace new challenges. This is a chance to grow in new ways and break out of old mindsets. During this time, you may ask yourself, how can I challenge myself in new ways? What can I expect to learn from these experiences? And what fears are holding me back from going after my purpose or dreams? And if there were no restrictions on what I wanted to do, what would I choose to do in this moment? There's nothing else. Like if we just asked ourselves that question, right? And tried to like take a step at a time from there. Like if I had no, if there were no restrictions on what I wanted to do, what would I choose to do in this moment? And a variation of that I've worked with for works for business specifically is if all of my root chakra needs were met, if my root chakra and what's the name of the one right above that? What's the one right above the root chakra?
At the sacral?
Is that sacral?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sacral.
So if your root chakra and your sacral chakra are like cool, you know, and everything's pretty solid there, or at least well enough that you're resourced, right? My question kept being, okay, if I had all of my needs met, I have plenty of food, I can get where I need to go when I want to go, I have a place to sleep with no stress, I have people around who love me and care for me. If all of that is true, what do I create from here? Because of course during the pandemic I'm like, holy shit, holy fuck, I can't have any money and I don't know if unemployment's going to come through and what am I going to do, and I have all these things, and creating from there sure wasn't great really for anybody. It helped me make some like thoughts, it created some movement and like, okay, get your butt in gear. But I also, as I saw what came out of me, I also said, this isn't what I want to put in the world. This is what I create when I'm living in fear and I don't have all of my needs met, or I believe I don't have all of my needs met. This is what I create. Okay. Again, what would I create if all of my needs were absolutely met? And thriving. If I was thriving, like really, I don't want to be just like struggling. And totally different things started to come through. And then the other variation, the third variation, is when I wasn't sure how my daughter and I were going to like fucking make it through each goddamn day. Is this choice I'm making right now in service to her or my health, well-being, comfort, joy? Like, is it in service to that? Yes, unequivocally, then great. Let's see if I can make it happen. If it's a maybe or a no, then fuck it. It's not happening. And I just think it's important that we all have at least some variation of that question, that when we're not sure what to do or how to do the next thing or what's happening tomorrow, like we've got to ask ourselves those really hard questions and prioritize from there instead of from brainy brain, ego mind. This is what everybody says we're supposed to do, you know? So I guess I'm done. I'll also say that another thing that I do that I'm not doing a great job about telling anyone else about is humans of all kinds from all places tell me stuff all the time. And generally they're all telling me the same stuff at around the same time. And so everything that each one of you has said tonight has been said to me by another person in a similar position as you sometime in the past week. And actually quite a few of them. And so again, that's like another way that without us, a way that we're suffering because we're not talking to each other enough, and we're not saying the things that are really scary or sad or upsetting or disappointing or embarrassing or whatever. We're not saying them, and so then we feel like, well, it's just me then, instead of, God, you know what, we all kind of have our desks in weird places that doesn't really inspire us to actually sit there and work. Or I don't have a fucking system, so I can't seem to keep these things. I got a pile over here and a pile over there, and I move them every couple of days, and nothing actually happens with them. And I forget appointments, and I don't follow up with clients, and like everybody's in that spot and overdoing. Oh, like, oh, I want to do a million things instead of, for my retreat we need a million things, and no, we need 4 of those. But simplify, you know.
I get that overdoing and that drive. Like it's been a tool I've adapted to like make it in the world that provides money. And I've utilized that in a way where I wake up and I just am like really more focused on how much I can get done. And it's so heartbreaking when that like translates to at least in my world right now, how it translates to like better numbers. It translates to things. It also has become, by waking up every day and thinking of like, okay, let me just get as much done as I need to, the stress that's created has become a motivator that I use, because if I'm not stressed and I sit down and I try to do my job, I really usually don't want to do it because I'm kind of like, I'd rather go play or like have deeper connections, or like, you know, I don't want to just be doing the tasks. So I've like, being stressed has become a motivator, because if I get myself all hyped up on, you know, adrenaline and cortisol and that stuff, and then I'm just kind of like in that space. And I know it's not just like for like the work I do now. Like I know it's a pattern that I've built that's like gone towards like retreats I've done, towards other things. Like it's a way of being that I've learned so that I can basically get financial support in exchange. And it's heartbreaking to see that pattern, because I feel disconnected. Like I don't feel like when that ends up being my primary focus and nobody else is asking for it to be, like, you know, people want, like, even the people I work for in my job, that's, you know, very numbers focused, like they want all of me, like they want me to be a human being, but I'm so attached to this, like, needing to produce an outcome and needing to obtain results and needing to just get the shit done. Like I wake up every day and I'm like, all right, let me just bust through this stuff. I just want to get it done. Because if I am like, oh, actually, no, I'm gonna like linger and relax and soak in the sun a little longer, then I come back and I have 3 times as much as what was there. And it's like, if as soon as I let off of the gas, then the piles start happening. And it makes it hard to like actually want to unplug, because it's, I don't know, I haven't really mastered like unplugging and coming to center, like being in a meditative state and then bringing that back into work. There's always like a shock, at least in my system, where I take a step back and I come back and there's just a shock in like, oh my gosh, there's like a lot that needs to be done, and how do I get it done in a certain time frame? And it doesn't end. Like, I feel like with life, there's just like unlimited amounts of things that like can be done. And I know that a part of it is just needing to navigate, like, okay, well, what's my relationship to that? And like, how can I manage to stay like calm and at peace and like in my heart, even when there is a lot to do, without needing to like put a lot of pressure on myself, and try to lean into places of like human connection and play and exploration. But it's really tricky. It's like this idea, like with money, it seems to just really, it changes everything. And sad.
Sorry, go. I hear you say that you're like the survivor self and survivor strategies are just taking over, and you want to be more your healthy self. Can these two worlds, is maybe that's your challenge. The growth zone is bringing those two together to play better together every day.
Well, also though, is we are women, at least currently on this call, we are women who are trying to we're trying to find our true feminine essence and live our life from our true like femininity, and we're living in a masculine world, and we've been told the only way to be in any sort of professional environment is masculine. And if you're not being masculine, if you're not producing and doing and finishing and results, busting through, and it hopping yourself up on cortisol drugs, or any sort of drug that does these things, caffeine does these things to us, you're a failure if you're not like. And so the thing that I'm realizing is so hard, and I don't remember, how old are you, Shawn? I can't remember how old you're. 50. You're 50. Awesme. Okay, there's 3 50-year-olds here, and right, because Cheri, are you over 52?
I'm 60.
Oh, fabulous! Great. Okay, so so here we have Devon, who has lived her entire life immersed in a world that didn't exist for the first 10, 15, 20 plus years of our career, right? It didn't exist, the world that Devon has known nothing else. And so now we have now these generation after generation of people who have only ever existed in this place where you do these certain things and you go work for these other people and you do it in this certain way, and you've seen everybody around you, that's all they've ever done, and mom and dad have always said this is what you must do. And so no wonder it is so stinking hard for the majority of adults these days to like sort through this. Of course it feels fucking awful, and you want to go play and sit in the sun and like connect, because that's your nature. That is who you are and what you are meant to be doing. And whenever somebody, it doesn't have to be a woman, whenever somebody is inhabiting and exploring their feminine energy, that's what they should be doing, is relaxing and playing and connecting and cooking and tending, and and that's, without enough of that, then this whole masculine bullshit that we are immersed in drains even more. And it's a fallacy and a creative thing that has been created. This idea has been created that all of this is as important as it is, and that the timelines and the deadlines and all of that shit is as important as it is. It's none of it's real. But if you've only ever lived in a world where it was real and everybody around you told you it was real, what else are you gonna do? And so I kind of want those of us who remember these things to go back to the days of fucking triplicates and filling out the damn forms and receiving the work order from the shop floor and hand writing it on the ticket. You know what I mean? Like those, all the fucking things that we used to have to do by hand. Data entry, like your salesperson hands you a folder and it's like, clean this up. Before computers, how do you clean that fucking folder up? You know, after computers, you enter the data. Like we at least we came from an analog place, and so I feel like we need to step back into analog a little bit more so that we can then turn around and show the folks who have never experienced an analog world how to do it. And if it's something as simple as we all got to get Franklin planners back and start writing shit down, you know, or whatever the planner was, that whatever it was, and we all have an analog version of something that no longer pretty much exists because everybody's just been on computers too long. And it makes those of us who think in analog cannot possibly get our shit done in digital. You know, like everything can't be done digitally, which that if you don't think that way, if you need to write things, you need to draw on the wall, you need to like take up space with your ideas, can't do that on a computer in the same way. And yeah, our people, our friends, our community, everybody's suffering in things, in ways that are just fucking created and all. It's the Matrix, you guys.
Even talking to people, at least at where I work, we've been talking about that. Like, less is more. Like less paper, less writing, less putting stuff on our website. We're doing a big web cleanup, and it's like less is more. Let's get all these PDFs off there, and let's just put, you call us for boom, boom, and boom, and then leave a phone number and a person's name.
And you work for a county, right? So you're working for an organization that normally are the last to do this. So
we are.
I'm super excited to hear it.
Yeah, but it's still like I'm on the web team and I'm going back telling, you know, my people, like, no, less is more. We're just gonna pick up the phone, or people are gonna pick up the phone and call you, you know, and not, and also the bosses have been okay about, like, yeah, maybe we get less done.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to get less done, like we're fucking real.
Right, and do well, right?
It makes me think of kind of a bit of an offshoot, but one of the things that we're kind of indoctrinated with is that success and money is a direct correlation from productivity and nose to the grindstone, this old mentality. And I'm remembering a fellow who does energy work, and all he wanted to do was ride his bike. And he was terrified that, well, I can't just spend half of every work day riding my bike. But guess what? Everything went even better than before because the nose to the grindstone does not yield. That's not where we're at. If you're not in your joy, if you're pushing the tide, if you're suffering, if you're miserable, that's not how it works anymore. So then you really need to like step away. Where's my joy? Is it a nap? Is it music? Is it a bike ride? Because that's the recipe for success now. The old one is outmoded.
Yeah, what began in the 80s needs to be fucking let go. But I will, because I'm such a quibbler about words and I want to use all the words. It's like the old way is actually like where we support each other and we help each other raise barns and, you know, like come
old
together.
Way.
Yeah, the old way. That's what we need to go back to.
Yes.
But we have too many generations of folks who either have never experienced it ever in their lives, or they've seen it only on TV, or you know what I mean? Like they think it's this unicorn thing, when in fact it's all this shit that came in the middle, you know, of yeah, you have to do it this way, and you're a failure if not. hustle culture, I think that really was the 80s. And maybe like we should go watch some 80s movies again and like remember how fucking ridiculous it is to break us out of essentially the shit that's been created by everybody participating.
Yeah, and all the isolation, and I mean, it's not just within work life, it's intentional communities, and like you said, the barn building and
Right. And the other piece that's really important, Cheri, that you were pointing at is like that the it's not nose to the grindstone makes money anymore. And part of it being that, you know, money being the construct that it is actually not even as important as we've all been led to believe,
yes.
because you have to trade your time in order to get money. And if you can only get the things you want with money, then you're also having to first trade your time. And so then that's why, we don't have any time to hang out with our friends or do our whatever. And so shifting away from the, you know, away from the idea that everything is a transaction and we have to have money in order to get the things that we want, we instead shift to, okay, who in my community has a fire pit, for example. I want a backyard fire pit. I'm going to put it out there that I want a fire pit. I don't want to go spend $150 on one. You know what? Something's going to show up. And that's $150 I now don't have to go earn, and I don't have to spend, and you don't have to buy another brand new thing that when there's many perfectly good ones out there. And so it's for every little bit that we can step in away from cash and into that makes all the difference in the world. And it begins with feeling the sun on your skin and taking something out that you no longer need and giving it away, and taking something off your calendar. They're like, I don't, it makes my stomach hurt to think about that. Don't fucking do it. You know, if it's not urgent and important, then don't fucking do it. At least not right now. If it's important, set it aside and come back to it. But if it's not urgent and important, it doesn't need to be done, and definitely not by you. And if it's not in your zone of genius, it really shouldn't be done by you. You're shooting yourself in the foot by doing it.
Yeah, can I just
I'm in a big rant, so go for it. Break in.
I am working for Devon, so I want to support you in his journey. And
yeah, absolutely.
And all of us, I want to support you and myself. But on Facebook Marketplace, I continually try to trade. Like, I'm trading for stuff, and I've met a lot of cool people in the neighborhood, like, or something from far away, like agreed, okay, let's meet up. But this one woman, she's like, well, what do you want for this? I said, well, how about an apple? And she's like, she's just like, you just need to go to the food bank. I said, no, this isn't about, like, I really don't need anything else. Like, I have what I need, and I don't need this item anymore. And I'm trying to, I want to foster this like barter system that you talk about. Some people totally get it, but this woman was just like, go to the food bank. I'm like, she's like, I'll go to the grocery store for you. I mean, she was really kind. I don't think she was getting it. I'm like, no, I don't need, well, I need food, but like wasn't getting the anti-capitalistic thing I'm trying to promote here.
So you see how hard it is for people to wrap their minds around.
It is. It was very, some people totally get it, I will say that, but that lady just was, she was so confused. She came to my house to get the thing. She's like, I don't get this. And I'm like, yeah, I think you do, but I want that apple and you want this dish. And she's like, let's do this. She just didn't get it. She's like, what if the apple's dirty? I'm like, well, I'm gonna wash it before. I mean, like, I'm not.
Yeah,
That's so silly.
but that is a perfect illustration of where we're standing.
Yeah, and I want to,
because that's more conventional thought process at this current stage in the world. That's where a lot of folks are, and they're like, but you know, it cramps their friggin' brain. So yeah, that's why you just keep doing it. You definitely got her thinking.
oh yeah, man,
You
my
definitely got her
epiphany
thinking.
now. But I want to write this book, because I've talked about it, about hoarding, and how hoarding is like capitalist's way of just oppressing people, because they want people to just take. It's part of that culture of we need to keep everything, and I need more, and I need more, and it protects me. It protects me.
Yeah, it's
And
safe.
yeah, and then I grow attached to an object and not a person. And I have a neighbor who hasn't had water in 3 months because she's a hoarder. And it just breaks my heart. And all the neighbors are like, she doesn't like me and one other woman on the block. She just turns around and runs away. We used to be really close with her, and now she's pushed us out. And it's because of all this. Like, I've been talking about this healing journey for the past couple of years, and it's just, and then I worry about her, but I just think there's so much to this. Like, it is the connection that you're talking about. And like when Devon's like, she wants to find joy, like wants to like feel the sun. It's like wants to, like, how do you have good connections with people, or deeper connections? And how do you do that all day? I mean, I definitely know that I'm pushing it at work, and so
Right.
far it's flying.
You do it with the people who it is easeful with, and then they add on as there's more ease or more or you're more resourced, so you can stand in that place of like, I understand that you don't get it, and it's okay, and I can try to explain it a little bit more, or we don't have to, but this is it, but you need a certain level of resource to be able to do that. And so thank you for continuing to be like, no, I understand. But I need to make sure we remember to talk about a psalm for the wild built, but that's an aside, and that it just has the best description ever of a non-capitalist monetary system that's like made my little heart sing, but that's beside
Cool.
and also transcription and quiet quill, so we'll come back to that.
What supports do you need, Devon?
What'd you say?
What supports do you need? Or
Supports?
yeah.
I mean, just like talking through everything is helpful. I mean, just even being in this space and listening to like being in the energy of the space and listening to you all speak, listening to you, Heather, speak. Like, I feel more connected to my, like me, my essence, myself. Yeah. So it's really important. There's something about this space that, the permissiveness, the openness, it's not like a lot of other like circles or anything that I'm connected with that are all held in a way that's very structured and organized and it ultimately beautiful, but like I kind of go to those places after being like in my rigid day, and then my masculine tries to like, I don't know, like it's like I'm trying to be in my feminine, but it's just more of my masculine, because it's just like, oh, well, now we're in this circle with a bunch of like, I don't know, it ends up being a bit of that new agey kind of environment, which isn't bad. Like, I think there's a lot of like beautiful spiritual connections that can happen in those places. But I just know when I'm only in circles like that, where everyone's just holding themselves in such kind of like beauty and light and with proper posture, and it just becomes like another place where my perfectionist is trying to be online. And so, and I've been really struggling like with I mean, I kind of put not a complete pause, like I still know that where I want to be going with what I want to do in the world, but like I just kind of put a pause on jumping or doing anything, because leaving my job seemed like more work. So I was trying to find like the gratitude and appreciation for my life where I'm at until something shifts. But like the things with work, my patterns with work always keep kind of showing up. But separate from that, which I think is affecting me probably in work too, and in other things, is that I had someone ask me a question about my body, and it really activated me. It really triggered me. And that's been, I think, also triggering maybe more of these patterns of control in my masculine, because I have a history with eating disorder. So I had someone ask me in the middle of a party if I was pregnant. I've been, I've pretty much like healed my gut issues. So I've been eating, like I love food. I've been like eating like normal. My body's changing. Like I'm just like really needing to love and accept that and like learning to love like my body that like I'm coming into. And like she didn't mean the comment in any harm, but it like really messed with me. And so my control mechanisms have just been like firing back online pretty intensely since. And so it's been this kind of balance of back and forward of like feeling this intense control around everything, around food, around like my body, around how I look, hyper focused. And then also that connects to like success and wanting to have certain things and like be a certain, like reach certain accomplishments. And then this other part of me that's just like, I just want to like love myself no matter how I look. And like, I know that human connection is more valuable than anything else. And like taking time to breathe all during the day and actually like sit down for a meal is like really important. And yet I can't seem to, I can't seem to make sense when I look at the hours in the day and I look and I notice, you know, what I have to do and like the time it takes me of like I'm such a structure oriented person where I'm like, I just, the pieces aren't fitting. So I think that ultimately is kind of like noticing that is like still this driver for me to like at some point need to be working for myself, doing my own thing because you know, basically like there's only so much that can give and there's certain expectations that I have to meet when working with someone else. And so there is always going to be some level of like my time that is sacrificed in that. Even though I know my company like wants my well-being and supports me in so many ways, like I get so much from it. But on a day-to-day basis, it's just I don't really know how to blend the two. And I would love to be able to find a way to like bring more softness and bring more like ease into like the workday, but I don't necessarily know what kind of the support looks like with that. And there's such a strong attachment to, I think, to doing to getting like certain tasks done because there's I don't know, just like there's like the feeling that I have, like there's a feeling I have in myself when I wake up early and I I usually like make time for myself. But if there's a feeling I have and I wake up early, I make time for myself to go to the gym or move my body or do something. And I start my workday like as early as I can and I get a bunch of stuff done. And then towards the end of the day, then I'm like, oh, I can like calm down a little bit because I've like gotten the stuff done when I've really needed to, and then I can kind of relax a little. Versus when I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try to be more gentle with myself. I'm gonna give myself a little bit of space and maybe like try to prioritize human connection. And then at the end of my day, I like have volumes of work left. And that feeling is like is so hard to sit with. I think because it's not just like that moment, it's like, okay, well, that's going to carry on to the next day. And for me, like that brings up so much emotion because it's just like, that's just exhausting. And I don't really know because what I have to do in my workday doesn't even feel like that much in comparison to what I know a lot of people have to do, like in life, you know, with kids and work and all these things. And just this concept of time and what we can accomplish in time, and it just boggles my mind. And you know, I really want to just master my time and my energy, and I don't know how, and I don't know what tools would help. Because like blocking, there was like somebody who wrote a book who said, you know, like they like schedule out everything they do, you know, for the hour and stuff. And I've done that before, and that usually makes things worse because then I'm looking forward and thinking of like, okay, well, these are all the things I have to do then and when. But it's like I hate this idea of like feeling limited with time, of like being like, oh, there's not enough time. This is that story that runs. But yet I also like witness that the sun is only out for a certain period of the day. So I mean, like it's a belief that feels somewhat true, but I don't really know. I don't really know. I don't really know how to break that.
When was the last time that you did have a pretty consistent morning routine, where even if it was only half an hour, that you gave to yourself first?
I pretty much always give like I pretty much always have like an hour and a half to myself.
Good.
Yeah, I've made it a habit to like move my body, exercise in the morning, do a meditation, usually get like a little sauna in. That's like essential, because if I don't do that and I start my work day, then I'm an asshole.
Right.
Because then somebody like emails me and I'm like, fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm like, this is my job.
Right. But
But
it sounds like you actually are prioritizing yourself first in the day, and it sounds like there's a lot more that your system would need in order to really thrive. But you are doing that, which is far beyond most. And so I'm happy to hear that. But what I was going to ask you is, remember good old fashioned body tracking?
oh, yes.
And dropping into
Bringing into the base.
Yeah.
I know.
So I wonder, like, what if like I wonder if maybe, like, I'm not sure I remember exactly it, you know what I mean? So I wonder if like you and I sort of stumbled through it so that maybe Cheri and Shawn could hear what the hell we're talking about.
I've actually been, so the coach that I had just recently worked with did a different thing that was similar to body tracking, which it's just basically bringing the energy down into the base of the spine. And it's probably a good reminder, because if I landed in that space throughout my day, it probably would be different. So
Making choices might change.
yeah, because then I'm like sitting back in myself versus being basically more like up here, and then I'm in my head, or like up in this area. But I have to, if I consciously bring my awareness back down into the base, like I'm like more grounded and more present. And I know what I think one of the things with body tracking was, it's like are your shoulders up or down? Is your belly soft, or is your belly relaxed? And then basically bringing the attention down into like either the base of the base of the spine, or even like the pelvic bowl.
I think it's more pelvic bowl and breathing down there. So it's bringing the attention not only intellectually, but also like breathing down into the pelvic bowl.
Yeah.
That, I mean, was really the key.
Yeah, that's important. That's not a bad reminder for me just to have, just like where are you in your body right now? Like if you're in your head, no wonder if most of your energy center right now and focus is actually physically in your head, then it's gonna be stressed.
And it's hard to know how to be in your femininity if you're in your head.
Yeah.
You're not feeling your pelvic bowl, like you're in your training to be a woman-shaped man, or you're in your pelvis and feeling your feminine essence.
Yeah, the full body.
How to connect it all.
Yeah, and really, there's so many coaches who have some variation of this, and they all are fucking complicated with all these fucking words and all these fucking directions. But basically, it's, if it works to close your eyes, and then you just imagine the energy going down through each chakra, and you breathe deeply and let it out completely as you do it. And at least for like 3 breaths, just energetically see it moving down through your chakras and breathing while doing it.
Breathing.
If you, yeah, 3 deep breaths. If you could do nothing else, take 3 deep breaths. But if you also can consciously bring it down into your pelvic bowl, because like that was, I did not communicate I did not share space with men, period, for almost 2 years. I was so like, I was in a space, could not be around men. And when riders that were men got in my car, it was definitely stressful. But as soon as I started practicing bringing my awareness into my pelvic bowl and taking some deep breaths every time a man got in my car, like literally the first time I did it, and every time I consciously did it after that, I had a completely different experience with the men. And I mean, in one night, like the first night I tried it, I had a North Korean and a South Korean man tell me that the time they spent with me in Portland was the best of their entire trip in the United States. And all I did was take them to the Rose Garden and tell them about Portland. And earlier before them, the guys that I had were Middle Eastern guys, which had at the time been an issue on a regular basis. When a Middle Eastern man would get in the car, there would always be something that happened because I was a woman driving. And in this case, 3 of them get in my car. And by the time they get out, the dude's like, tell me about the Northern Lights again. I need to look this up. I need to learn. I need to go to Alaska. And like, they're like, wow, I learned so much that I never knew. And that was the only thing that had changed between the night before that and that night, was I was breathing deeply and I was bringing it down into my pelvic bowl. And that was the turning point where everything started to little bit by little bit change as I started to get more and more into find my femininity.
Yep.
And shed the masculine structure that I'd been told was the way to do things.
Well, it shifts the energy.
I know a lot of men that are doing this type of work too, and they've said, I don't want to live in this world. They don't like
They're
that.
starting to see it.
Starting to see
They're
it.
starting to be able to see it too.
I'm not saying they're at the county. That's not what I'm saying.
One of my best friends, we've been friends since 1992. And he's I don't know if I don't think he says he's non-binary at this point. I think he presents as a man, but there's a range of how he has presented in the world. And all I had to do was tell him to start taking 3 deep breaths at every moment where he was starting to feel wound up. And everything at work started to change. And over the course of a few years, his entire life changed.
Yeah.
And he became more himself. And it really was just because he stopped reacting and he started to become more aware of the other ways, the alternate ways of doing business and being with a business and being with the people in the business. And it's evolved to, he was just bought out of his company and now he has everything he could want to try to decide what he wants to do next. And it all started with taking 3 deep breaths in a few years in a pandemic, but still, I mean, yeah, we're all in cortisol rehab, like we all need cortisol rehab.
Oh, I feel that. I definitely feel that. Like, if most of my life it's been the cortisol until I was like, I can't do it anymore. I don't know what to do.
Start opting out of the system.
I opted out, yeah.
It's not easy, but you gotta opt out.
And then a pandemic happened that helped too.
It did help. It helped me a lot.
It
helped me a lot to be able to get into touch with this stuff.
I think
and figure out my flow and figure out, what I need to be doing in the morning so that I'm not starting every day and every week. edit. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I refuse to, I like need that time for myself. And slowly over time, like what ends up happening is it's like, okay, so having a, you know, having this group, having this community, you know, having other pockets of things, and like there ends up being these like anchors, which I feel like start to create this new way of being. And there's times where I go back, but then I remember, and it's like, okay, I get to remember, I like have these ways of remembering sooner and sooner, which is always really helpful.
It's really helpful, Devon, that you brought up kind of the circles of how you can be some of what you are, but not really all the messy, inconvenient parts. And I do feel like, and you have mentioned this too, Heather, of like, that's really the healing, is being visible in the humanity, and it helps me tremendously. I feel like I'm still hiding, but I feel, emboldened hearing that pointed out and that named. And I do feel like, I don't know if you guys know Jean Franzblau. She has done some theater in Portland. Anyway, she's one of the trainers for Cuddle Sanctuary, and she had mentioned to me, because I'm on hiatus trying to heal, and she had said, well, okay, what if your limitations are your gifts? Explore that. Like how can that actually bring way more depth and meaning to clients than the standard modus operandi. So I just really feel like that is the direction, of finding the gifts in the challenge, and how to marry that with like where our passion is, our joy is, the intersection of those two, and then create from there.
Yeah, what can I do from here? Asking that question too, which I very literally ask. I'm not getting out of bed right now. What can I do from here? And sometimes it's really fun things. Sometimes I'm gonna do some editing, or I'm gonna, text a friend, or there's things I can do from bed and be really happy about it, but also my body's resting. Or yeah, it's yeah. But the constraints, working with the constraint within the constraints, and finding the gift within the constraints. Sometimes there's creativity that you never would have thought you had. But I mean, if you really want to try to generate some creativity in yourself and think about like what it could be like, is just pretend you don't have electricity, for example. Pretend you don't have indoor plumbing, or you don't have you don't have some of these things, but yet you need to build that bridge, or you need to like okay, my freezer is empty, who else has what, let's figure it out. But it requires talking about it. And sometimes you build some janky shit when you don't have the right tools, but also sometimes that janky shit works just fine for a while and good enough. And maybe if we all had a little more striving towards a C average instead of an A average, maybe there'd be a bit less stress.
There are so many mistakes
Mm-hmm.
that have turned the tide of history. They weren't even intended.
No. And most things that have changed the world are also, everybody told them they were fucking bonkers. The the dudes walked into the Apple guys. Let's see, Steve, the two Steves went to
Oh.
my grandma's coffee shop all the time. And they asked her, would you like to give us $1,000 for what we're doing in our garage? And she said no. And so, like, there's these choice points, and there are people who are changing the world, and everybody tells them that they're bonkers and that will never work. And sometimes it just takes going, well, you don't know what you're talking about, and I do. So I'm just going to keep on moving forward. And bummer for you, your entire family could have been different if you just, don't invested that $1,000 in Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. But you didn't.
Yes, and I like to think that the Steves had a couple people that believed in them.
They did. They
And
definitely did.
that is what we're working on building, is just a couple people. It's not the masses.
Nothing's about the masses anymore, honestly. In business, it's your raving fans. It's the folks who are just like, you are the bee's knees. Those are the people that you need. And and in this, we need people who could see our magic and remind us when we forget, and continue hold the vision when it seems to be obscured, and it's not an alone thing. We're doing too many things alone.
Yeah. I think I have reached my completion.
Yeah, well, we said we were going to close at 7:45 anyway.
Oh, that's
Oh, well then.
But you go ahead and hop off. We don't have to make everybody else hop off. You're ready to go. I'll see you later.
I'll close with you for closing, or
Yeah, how about we have an official close to the circle, and then if you two want to hang out for just a few more minutes, we can.
okay.
Take some deep breaths.
Yeah, and with a noise or a word or two or whatever that you'd like to end on for you.
I went noise.
Well, like Devon just went, bleh. There's some variation of that. And I'm gonna
I like the blah.
You remember the what's that? Yes.
It's like a lion's breath, basically.
Yeah, but it was about Budweiser. I highly recommend the 1990s docu-series on I think it's on Disney. So fucking good. It's so good. Takes you back and also puts into perspective for people who weren't alive or aware then.
So what is it called? What is it
I
on?
think it's called the 1990s. I don't know.
Okay, that's the name. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you put in,
Cool.
go to Disney and put in the 1990s, yeah, it's
All
awesome.
right.
So that's what reminded me of what. That's where that came from.
Yes.
Okay, bye, Devon. Thanks for coming. It's good to see your face.
It was so good to see you too.
Rewind the 90s. That's what it's called.
Rewind the 90s. Okay.
It talked about the birth of the reality TV, of the
God.
internet, of comedy. It's awesome. Of love. It talks about relationship. Like it's pretty fucking epic, actually. Highly recommend.
It's so good.
So good.
Mhm.
Yeah. My ranting was like a lot, but I guess I was exploding.
It was really good to listen to. It was like,
Yeah.
it really helped move some like emotions and things like for me, and just, yeah, it felt really good.
Good.
You being in your truth and your authentic expression. And then do we have another one scheduled yet, or?
Oh, actually, you know what? Tuesdays doesn't seem to work for people after all. There were a bunch of people who normally come and they're like, I can't on Tuesdays ever. And some were just like, I can't do this Tuesday. So what if we picked a time that
Okay.
works for us, and then that's what we'll put out there to the rest of the group.
Yeah.
But so what if we still though look at the
No,
like the last week of May? We still try to do the last week,
Yeah.
but
Does Monday nights work for people?
well, Monday night's Memorial Day.
That's
Actually,
gonna be
now that I
Memorial
look
Day.
at that.
Oh, okay.
So maybe what if we did the week before the 20th?
On a Monday.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
Let's do
Yeah,
that.
I'm good with Mondays.
Okay. Does that work for you, Cheri?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
The 20th, which
Mhm.
is right around the corner.
Okay, May 20th. All right. Awesome. All right. Now how about Shawn, since you were willing to do the events for me, and then I did a repeating one, but now we changed the dates. But I'll cancel the event I made, and you do you can just cut and paste the description though from the
Yep.
current one.
I can do that.
That'd be awesome.
And 6:15.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, 6:15 start.
that
time.
works.
Yeah. Thanks for coming together, you guys, because this is how the change happens.
This is, yeah. I mean, after I didn't realize it until like I came today, I was like, oh my gosh, I could really feel that I like missed the last one. And
Yeah.
it's like really, I don't know. I'm like, oh my God, I feel more like myself. This is interesting.
Well, yeah, we are revolutionaries, whether you know it yet or not. And you got to show up to the meetings of the revolutionaries in order to be able to know what's going on and how to, keep working towards that revolution that we are doing.
Feel it. I feel the heart. I feel our hearts. I feel the energy.
And Devon, feel free to reach out to me if you're like, hey, you want to go for a walk today? Like, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But just feel free to do those last minute.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for the nudge. I definitely like want to take more like breaks, especially social. Like I do a lot just on my own. I've become very like independent in that way, but sometimes to my own detriment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Hi, Devon.
Bye. Bye, Cheri. Bye. Heather. Bye, Shawn.
Makes me wish I lived up north, you guys.
I know, yeah.
Guys are up
If
there.
you could do more in-person, stuff. I haven't been doing much yet with like inviting people over on the evenings and weekends, but I want to,
Are you guys down for a question? Are you feeling
I
pretty
have
like
probably
ready?
another 10 minutes in me.
Okay.
And I would love to spend it with you too. But I think before we do that, the one thing I would like, since you both are more my age versus a lot of the other folks in the group, I kind of want you to think about like, what could we bring back from the days of pre-answering machine and everything's done through mail, and like there was something about that pace of life that there are generations of people now alive who have no fucking idea how long things actually take or what it takes when you're doing work through mail, or like I took courses through the fucking mail. Like that's
Patience that you
the
had to
patience
have.
required.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you send a postcard to somebody, they may or may not respond. You send a text, they may or may not respond. Don't get your panties in a wad.
Or you couldn't talk to somebody until 5 o'clock on
Yeah.
Friday because of the long distance carrier.
Right. I
You know,
mean,
you
so
just-
it was expensive to make those phone calls.
So you waited.
Right. And so like, what if we can kind of bring back some of that? What was good about it was like, people didn't expect immediate responses, and they're like, I haven't been able to get a hold of you. And they're like, you're dead in a ditch. It's like, oh, I guess I haven't caught you when you're home.
you know?
Or yeah, yeah. Like in the culture now is if you don't text back right away or if you don't email back right away, you hate me. It's like, no, actually, like
No.
I haven't had time to actually craft a text back to you.
Or think.
Or think it through. I'm not gonna just like shoot off like an emoji thingy.
Right.
Because
We're not all 8 years old anymore. And you know, what I mean?
I get back to it will be meaningful.
Right. It gives me a thought to think about it. And don't get mad at me and make up stories because we're not children anymore.
No,
you know?
just ask me and
Yeah.
I'll tell you. This is what's going on.
Right.
It's hard.
Mhm.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's all this instant gratification sound bites. There isn't like the stamina or patience. It's got to be
Mhm.
moving on. Yeah. So
But I invite you to think about it. Think about the analog world and what was good about it, and how, in what ways could we introduce people who don't know what the fuck that is
yeah,
to the way of the aspects of life that were good about it.
Yeah.
Mostly the period of time. Everything takes longer.
I would and I'd like to bring up that for sure because I think I was a library science and trained in both worlds, so like yeah, the whole analog world of information
wow.
and how it used to flow is so different, But I think what I really like about even this conversation tonight was like the healing that I've had to do about the workplace being so misogynistic and so entering an age where potentially is masculine and feminine could be more balanced because I was hit on it every single job and it was just expected, and HR departments would be like, the best I can offer you is a severance.
Yeah.
And it was like the best practice in 2002.
Oh, it's not that. No, it's
And
still happening.
It's
Yeah.
still happening. But like just like the fears and like I at least see it getting a little bit better and people have
It is
pathways
Right.
and there's social media has really like there's good things about the old ways, but there's also like what is the good way about the new, like how to retool these tools so they don't control you control them. I guess that's what, like how do you control your Instagram?
Totally. How are you? Yes. How are you, the sovereign being, making choices about what you're doing or what you're responding to or how you're spending your time?
Yeah.
We're not living lives as grown-ups.
Right. If you're just
We're
gonna
living
sit
lives
there
as teenagers, basically, who haven't been shown how to do much.
Right.
And so we're just like figuring it out as we go along from a teenager space of like awareness and skill level.
Yeah, and I'm really happy that the public libraries, they're giving classes on social media and they focus on by generations and they really focus on like when it's above 50 like us. Like you have to limit your time. They bring it up, they bring it up to all the generations, but I mean every class, like you don't just suck your, don't doom scroll or all the things. Like pick up the phone if you like, they give tips like if you see a photo of somebody you miss them, maybe call them.
Right.
Like use these tools to your advantage. Like that old high school classmate might really want to hear from you. I don't know.
So what were the questions you wanted to ask, Cheri?
I love that.
Yeah, no, I totally love it too. I feel like if somebody sparks in your mind, you really should be reaching out to them.
Yeah.
You might be sparking in their mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So this may be a longer question, but you had mentioned, Heather, about like what if your first and second chakra were golden, what would you do? And you also mentioned being on medical leave. And I just, I want to do everything yesterday and my body it's not on board, and it's really hard and frustrating and sad, and how to navigate that. And just curious how you navigated that. And Shawn, if you have experience navigating that, but like, it's going on a year and it's just hard. It's
You know what
just,
I honestly think is really important if for this is that we have people in our community like Jeanette, for example, she's the first one that pops into my head, who also needs these, what we're talking about, you know, like, um, uh, she's having some, yeah, the cancer situation or something is really kicking her ass again. And so what I'm going to propose, if you're interested, then I will propose it to her. Is she used to teach something called chakra balancing, and she actually wants to write a book about it. She wants to teach classes about it. And so what I wanted to propose to her is, look, if I do like the technical stuff and, you know, put it out there and say, hey, people, it would only be in the leader group at this point. I don't want to go too public, but it'd be like, hey, people, who wants to meet you, Jeanette and Cheri and I for chakra balancing? We're available to do it at this time. We'll record it if you're not available. And then, you know, what that could do is not only those of us who need this practice of something, I mean, Jeanette says like that is one of the major things that helped her move out of I'm dying right now, I'm actively dying, to I still have a lot of living to live, to do. And so I can't help but wonder if we're like, all right, a couple of us team up, let's have a chakra balancing date a couple times a week, and then we try to practice on our own in between or whatever. And if there's opportunities for, you know, folks like Jeanette and Ayana and you and me or Lindsay, or like there's so many people in this particular group who have whose entire lives have either been driven by illness or an injury, or have been formed and shaped by it, you know. And we all have an incredible amount of knowledge and experience and resources. And if we don't create the space to actually talk about them or share them, we won't share them. And so
yeah.
if that's of interest to you, I'd be really happy to reach out to Jeanette and say, hey, Jeanette, can we do this?
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that, I mean, you're right. And I know Shane's on that list too, of people who are navigating, you know, physical challenges. And it would also be nice to just have, yeah, have a discussion, have, you know, kind of a forum.
Yeah, because I can tell you both Shane and Lindsay have both said to me, like, I'm just amazed at all the things that you get done and, you know, feeling like you do. And I'm like, you know, I feel the same freaking way about you. I see you out there recording albums and teaching classes and doing this and doing that. And I'm like, how in the fuck are you doing that? And so we're all three sitting here looking at each other going, oh, you're figuring it out somehow. I haven't been able to figure out how to get through this, but you're doing it somehow. So what's wrong with me? Like, we're all three fucking doing that about the other two, you know? And so when I found that out, I was just flabbergasted. And so it also just goes to show, like,
Yeah.
not only is there an incredible amount of knowledge and resource and experience, but we're all thinking, I'm alone, I'm the only one, I see everybody else doing better than me. But when Shane started saying, hey, I just don't get out of bed till noon and I'm up in the middle of the night, that's why I have quiet time and that's when I do my things. Well, if she'd never said that, I never would have had any idea how she did stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we gotta, yeah, you've asked for this before and it's important. And really the thing that makes it easiest for me is, like, if you put it in the leader group, okay, when are we scheduling this? This is when I'm available.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Works
Yeah.
really well for me because I love the idea. I genuinely want it. Am I going to initiate? Realistically, no.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. And because, yeah, it's a great forum for for putting that out there and seeing who it resonates with. So I will absolutely take that on.
That'd be great. And that'd be great. We'll pick a time that works for you because you're the one who's been bringing it up, and then whoever else wants to join us can, or watch the recording. You know, but it's probably also something just needs to be a regular conversation. It's ongoing. It's new questions. It's more comes up. It's more resources to share. And I'm already imagining all kinds of really cool ways to structure it so that everybody gets a chance to share some cool things and ask questions of each other, and also probably just listen going, I fucking get it. I know those weeks where you can't get out of bed and you're proud of yourself for brushing your teeth and taking a shower. You know, like sometimes we need to be able to say that's how it is, and we need to hear that they're not the only one who's ever felt that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for creating this. And it's nice to see you, Shawn, too, always. I didn't get to hug you guys this time, but here's a hug.
Yeah, and it because well, Shawn can still go through the treasure box and everything, but you know, she's the only one. The shelves are growing of all the things I'm trying to send home with people. So